We take a look at the calendar. We know that the next roster update is coming this Friday, September 12th. It's been 3.5 weeks since the last one. For some reason, they've decided to make most of them more than 3 weeks in between, which is kind of frustrating. But, we're here. We have another roster update, probably our third to last of the entire year. There's probably going to be one more for the regular season and then one more at the end of the postseason. That's what they do every year. So make sure you guys getting your investments in before the last roster update, because when roster updates are gone, they're gone. But yeah, today we're going to be going over the best investments for this upcoming roster update. So let's get into it. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys become a channel member to receive exclusive perks such as roster update advice from someone who's made over 10 million stubs this year, one-on-one coaching, and access to the members-only Discord. Link in the description. So the first guy on my list is a guy that I've been preaching for about 2 months in these videos. And if you guys listened to me 2 months ago, you're going to be making an absolute fortune off of Christopher Sanchez. He's truly been one of the most underrated players in the MLB all season. He's probably going to be the runner-up to Paul Skeens in the NL Cy Young. Since the last update, he does have a little bit of an inflated ERA, but ultimately ERA isn't the only thing that you should judge a pitcher on. You can actually argue that it's kind of an overrated stat because it doesn't factor in other things, but that's not the point of this video. Since the last update, which was August 15th, he has 25 2/3, a 3.51 ERA, which is kind of inflated by one bad start where he gave up 6 earned runs. All the other ones were either 1 or 2 earned runs. Most recently on Friday, he gave up 1 earned run. I think that his Ks per nine and walks per nine could definitely get upgrades. He's had 29 strikeouts and only 6 walks in this period. He is a little more expensive, but I think that you could make stubs at him going into an 86. And one thing that I do want to mention is that in past videos, when I've mentioned him, like before his price has gone up, so I have my Excel pulled up right here on my monitor. I first bought him at 450 when he was a silver. I bought 600 of them for that. Then I bought 800 more for 400 after he went gold. Then I bought 300 more at just over 1,000. So I have 1,300 Christopher Sanchez's. I've already made 1 million stubs on him if I quick sell them right now, which I'm obviously not going to do. And a lot of this is, just myself investing on my own. If you guys want to be able to make stubs like I'm going to with Christopher Sanchez, and you want my roster update advice in real life, check out the new channel memberships that I just launched. It's one of the most important perks is you will get my investments in real time, link in the description. Now, Gabe Speier has been an interesting option for Diamond candidacy, and he's a little similar to Christopher Sanchez, where his ERA from the last period is definitely inflated. I'm not going to say it because it's pretty bad, but ultimately, he just had 2 bad outings where he gave up a couple runs. But outside of that, he's truly been one of the most dominant relievers in the majors, and I think that the market always knows what's going to happen. Like, if a guy's at 2,000 stubs, he's not at 2,000 stubs for no reason. That means that the general consensus is that, yeah, even though he had those 2 pretty bad outings, he's still a good chance for Diamond. Definitely not a guarantee, though. But Gabe Speier, he's been dominant all year. Similar to Christopher Sanchez, I think he could get a Ks per 9 and walks per 9 upgrade. He's had 11 strikeouts and 1 walk in 7 2/3 since August 15th. And I think that could take him to an 85, maybe an 86. But ultimately, you'll still be making stubs off of this guy. Man, what a season for Geraldo Perdomo. He's truly been one of the most underrated players in the majors, just like Christopher Sanchez. I think he is top 5 in the NL in F-WAR, which is crazy that he's doing that well. But people just slept on him. And I think that he has a very strong case. Now, I will say that his stats versus righties, I don't think are going to go up. I think power versus right could maybe get a small increase since the last update. His OPS versus righties is right around 750, so barely above average. So maybe he'll go into the 60s there, but contact right seems pretty accurate. The stats versus lefties, I think, is what's going to give him Diamond. Since the last update, he's hit 367 with an 1100 OPS in 30 at-bats, so it's not a small sample size. Sure, he's already at 102 contact left. I think that could go up to like 110. But the power left upgrade is what's going to take him to Diamond, in my opinion. and he's still below 2,000 stubs. Now, Dylan Dingler is a prime example of why you never, ever, ever sell players that you've invested in that go up before they reach diamond. Dylan Dingler in the last update, he was one of the best investments for the fielding update, right? And he got huge fielding upgrades. He got a +5, and I think he barely went up in his offensive stats, right? I told you guys, do not sell Dylan Dingler. Yes, you've probably already made a lot of stubs, but don't sell him in case his bat gets hot. This was the same thing with Bobby Witt 2 years ago in MLB The Show 23, where he was a 79. He got a huge fielding upgrade to 84, and then he got really hot, and he went up a lot, and I made a fortune. It's the same thing with Dingler here. Now, I don't think he's going to go up versus righties, but versus lefties, 417, 1212 OPS, and it is a small sample size, but I think he'll get the upgrades that he needs. With Inside Edge, I think he's gotten to an 85 with like a +2 or +3. So he doesn't need that much room to grow, and obviously his defense is really helping that overall. He is a little more expensive and a little more risky, but this is more so of a victory lap if you guys held on to him, like I said. Now, Sal Frelick, I don't think is like the highest chance of going diamond. The market isn't too high on him. He's just above quick sell, which might actually make this a good investment. Sal Frelick, since the last update, right, he has not been that good against lefties. Contact has been fine, I think, but power, 31 power versus lefties is pretty accurate, in all honesty. But versus righties is where he could get a big upgrade. Since the last update, 367 with a 933 OPS in 60 at-bats. That is a big sample size, and those stats versus righties really holding him back. And I think that he could get a +1 and go to diamond strictly off those alone. And so if you buy him at 1550, you're risking only 56 stubs for every Sal Frelick that you buy. And if he goes ice cold this week, you can just sell him and basically lose nothing. Or you can quick sell him and basically lose nothing. And maybe he'll go diamond and you'll get a lot of stubs back for a big return. Remember when I said Dylan Dingler was more of a victory lap? This is kind of the opposite. So Yamamoto was in my video in the last update, and he had a blow up start right before the roster update, and I ended up selling him. I just wanted to hedge my losses, if those of you finance people who know what that means. But yeah, I wanted to hedge my losses there, and I did. So I quick sold my Yamamotos, and he didn't go down, but he didn't go up. Ever since the last update, specifically his start on Saturday, he seems like a very strong candidate, and I really regret selling him because I wouldn't have lost my stubs and I would have made a lot. I don't have any Yamamotos. He's, I think, the only player on this list that I don't have any investments in, but I have to put him in here. Yamamoto, since the last update, 28 2/3, 2.2 ERA, 32 strikeouts, 6 walks. So definitely upgrades for Ks per 9 and walks per 9. I really wish I didn't sell him, but yeah. And I do want to mention his final start before the update. He had a no-hitter for 8 2/3 of an innings. That game was pretty hilarious because in his final out, he gave up a solo homer that was barely a homer. Just focusing on Yamamoto, the insane performance, basically giving him a great chance to go diamond. But it's kind of funny that the Dodgers lost that game. But yeah, I mean, he is up there. He's at 2,200. So there is risk, but I think he is a strong case. Man, what a year for Ramon Laureano. It seems like his career sort of fell off after he got caught for using PEDs with the Oakland Athletics. They're always going to be the Oakland Athletics. I don't care. They were when he played. But anyway, Ramon Laureano really resurrecting his career this year. He wasn't bad for the Braves, but he's really turned it up a notch this year for the Orioles and now the Padres. Man, he's had a great year. Since the last update, 297, 807, and 64. That's average in OPS, and 64 at bats versus righties. So maybe he'll get an upgrade, but I wouldn't count on it. It's his stats versus lefties that's going to take him to diamond, in my opinion. Since the last update, 435, 1523 OPS in 23 at bats, so a little smaller sample size, but still crushing it. I think he could get a small upgrade versus righties and a big upgrade versus lefties. Yes, his fielding is very low. That does worry me a little. But I think that he's just been too good offensively. He could also get upgrades in vision, discipline, and clutch. bringing him to an 85. Man, what a season George Springer has had. He hasn't really been that amazing for the Blue Jays outside of his first year with them, but he has been one of the best hitters in baseball this year. You know, people are probably going to think I'm biased when I say this as a Yankees fan. I truly think that you can make a case that George Springer deserves to be the runner-up for the MVP behind Aaron Judge. That's how good this guy has been. And I think that it's kind of a no-brainer for George Springer. Versus lefties since August 15th, 385, 1400 OPS, only 13 at-bats. But versus righties, 338, 1127 OPS, 65 at-bats. So yeah, he's going to get upgrades across the board offensively. I'm not worried about his defense holding his overall back. He is pretty expensive, so you won't be making much if he goes to an 85. But if he goes to an 86, you'll be making almost $1,000 per if you're buying him now. Another player on the Blue Jays that has just been phenomenal for them, really bounced back from an awful year last year. Great year to have going into your free agent offseason for Bichette. Bichette in the past is someone that I've stayed away from because his defense has always been atrocious. And Bichette has been the prime example of room to grow. It's the term that I use. He's always had super high contact and clutch and super low defense, and he's barely ever been diamond because he's never had the power to get there, and his defense was holding him back too much. This year, it's a different story. He has room to grow on his power, of course, but he still has room to grow on his contact, and his defense isn't as bad as it used to be. It's still not great, but it's not terrible. So I think that he's definitely going to go diamond. It's a different situation from the past. He's had amazing stats just like Springer, 337 average, 1000 OPS, and 70 at-bats versus righties, 467, 1200, and 15 at-bats versus lefties. I mean, that offensive pedigree is just like, should go diamond, and he's only 2,000. So now, as we always do at the end of the video, we talk about two sleepers, and, you know, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Christopher Sanchez was one of my sleepers, and now look at him. So make sure you guys are paying attention to these. First guy is Brenton Doyle. Brenton Doyle has always been a great player to look out for, to invest in, because his defense has always been so high, and his speed as well, which inflates his overall. Looking at his offensive numbers, they're pretty bad on this card. His stats versus lefties, I will say, are pretty accurate. I don't think they're going to change. But his stats versus righties, my God, he deserves a huge upgrade. Since the last update, 313 with a 910 OPS and 64 at-bats versus righties. He has 39 contact, and he's hitting over 300. Like, he's going to get a huge upgrade versus righties. Lefty stats shouldn't change. And since his fielding is already insane, that could bring his overall up a crap ton. And he's only 700. He's only 100 stubs over quick sell. This is a very low risk, high reward investment. And then lastly, we're going to talk about Freddy Peralta, which for some reason, I don't understand why he went up a little since I made my notes. He went up to 1,200. He was 1,100 literally 20 minutes ago. But it's still insane how he's so cheap, Freddy Peralta. Freddy Peralta has had a 28-inning scoreless streak. He hasn't given up a single earned run in 28 straight innings. He's pitched 22 since the last update. 28 strikeouts, 11 walks, so he could limit the walks better, but everything else just deserves so many upgrades. I think he could legitimately go diamond this update, and if not, 84 is very reasonable, and you'll be making your stubs back and more just for him going to 84, and then if he goes to diamond, either this update or the next one, you'll be making bank. Freddy Peralta has just been unbelievable. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys are new here, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and most importantly, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.